Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. We are on the road to Avengers Doomsday, so it's only appropriate we talk about another Avengers film. This is the second last movie in Phase 2 of the MCU. It is the second last movie in the third era of Marvel movies. It is an often misunderstood and poorly treated film. I think it's getting more appreciation as time goes on, but at the time it definitely received some criticisms, even by myself, to be honest. But I have come around and I've learnt the error of my ways. I am talking about Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the second and final Avengers film directed by Joss Whedon. The entire cast returns. We've got Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, and Jeremy Renner in a much more pivotal role as Hawkeye this time. He's got a lot more to do. We have James Spader as the voice of Ultron. We have Paul Bettany, who I haven't talked about at all in this series yet. Paul Bettany has been the voice of Jarvis, the AI that Tony uses in these Iron Man suits, since the first movie. In this film, he becomes the Vision, who's a very cool character. He's going to play quite a big role moving forward. We have Elizabeth Olsen as a newcomer, as the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, and we've got Aaron Taylor-Johnson as a one-time appearance as Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff. The film opens incredibly on this continued adventure of the Avengers. They've been doing some stakeouts and stuff, and now they're attacking Baron Strucker in Sokovia, who has taken Loki's scepter. He's got it in his possession, and he's using it to create super soldiers, or enhanced as they call them, and enter the Maximoff twins. It's really fun. It's a great action set piece. There's some really cool team up stuff, including Cap and Thor kind of combining their weapons to knock a whole bunch of people out. We have a Hulk who's now able to change back with a command. He's been working with Black Widow to get that under control, and they're trying to wrap up the Infinity Stones that have been on Earth. They learn about Infinity Stones in this movie, so Thor finds out about them by going to a well about halfway through the flick, and he tells everyone about the Infinity Stones and how we've had so many on Earth in the last few years, and that's not a good sign. The prime story is the introduction of Ultron, who is an AI created by Tony and Bruce. They use Loki's scepter, the Mind Stone, to create the AI. What they want to do is create an army of protectors so that they can retire. Not because they're lazy, but they want the Earth to have as much support as possible. Tony keeps having nightmares, as we explored in Iron Man 3, and he's worried that there's going to be a return invasion, so he wants to make sure there's always someone to help protect the Earth. Unfortunately, the AI goes very, very wrong, and it becomes Ultron, and he is hell-bent on destroying the Avengers, but also destroying the planet. And therein lies our film. It's action-packed. There's so many great sequences. They really utilize both Wanda and Quicksilver really, really well. We'd had Quicksilver debut in Days of Future Past only a year earlier, something I forgot to talk about in my video on Days of Future Past. And their approach to speedsters was very different. In Days of Future Past, they slowed everything down to a stop and just had him move through the world to some entertaining music. In this, he moves in the blink of an eye, and they use these silver streaks. I like both versions. I like my speedsters fast, so even though the slow motion thing is fun, I like to blink and I'll miss them. And they really did that with this, and they'll do it again with Makari in Eternals. It's a really great fracturing of the team, something that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would do in a few years' time, where they're all together, they're finally assembled, they're working together, and then the actions of one or more of the group start to split them apart, and they start to feel a little bit of a divide. This film also sets up Civil War. There's a great sequence, the wood chopping sequence between Tony and Steve as they're cutting wood outside of Hawkeye's family home, and they're kind of arguing ideologies, and that's pretty much the setup for Civil War. But then the film also sets things up at the end. We have Hulk disappear. He flies off in a Quinjet, and we won't see him now until Thor Ragnarok. We have Tony retire. He says he's cashing in his chips and he's leaving. And we're left with the new Avengers. So we do get a new team. Some of them will come back in a film, some of them won't. So the new team of Avengers is Cap and Black Widow, of course. We've got the Scarlet Witch, we've got Falcon, and we've got Rhodey, the War Machine. War Machine is not in Civil War, really, as part of Cap's team, so he's only really there for that final scene, and they changed the lineup a bit. I think it's really great. I think what people didn't appreciate at the time, and myself included, after I watched it a second time, I really did change my thoughts on it, is that this film is doing more heavy lifting than most. This film has to act as a sequel to the Avengers. It has to set up Infinity War. It has to close out Phase 2, and it has to set up Phase 3, all whilst introducing new characters and giving them a balanced storyline that we can all appreciate. And watching it again, everyone does have their chance to shine. Everyone has great moments. The twins get a really good time. Ultron, obviously, we would have liked him more if he had a return appearance, but he is due to show up in Vision Quest. One thing that we talked about since this movie came out over 10 years ago is that when Vision kills Ultron, it happens off screen. And if we've learned anything from Game of Thrones, is if it happens off screen, it hasn't happened. The only critique I have of this film, really, because I do think this is better than The Avengers. I've talked about this in my last video on The Avengers. I think The Avengers is the weakest. It's not a bad film. It's a great film. But I think every film improves. I enjoy this now more than the first Avengers. I think Ultron is a better villain than Loki. Loki is a fun villain. Ultron's a scary villain. And I like my scary villains. And he's quite complex, whilst also being mustache twisting at the same time. The only thing about this film that I would critique, I suppose, is the post-credit sequence. And I even critiqued it back when I first saw it. The last scene at the end of the film, after the film's over, is Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet out of a hatch, saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself." That never made any sense to me because he didn't orchestrate any of this. He didn't send Ultron or create Ultron. He didn't, no one was involved. He had nothing to do with the events of this film. He had to do with the events of the first film, sure, but nothing to do with this one. So it really kind of sticks out as a bit of a sore thumb for me. I don't really understand its purpose, and maybe someone can tell me what I'm missing, because if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong, but I just don't get the post. It just feels a little bit out of place. It feels more like a setup and cliffhanger for the third movie without too much thought. It feels like an X-Men post-credit sequence, to be honest. But Age of Ultron is an absolute banger. It's so good. It's really fun. There's some great scenes. There are a couple of jokes, I suppose, without going too dark and too serious, in light of the Justice League scandal and Joss Whedon being involved in that film. Going back, there are definitely a couple of scenes that I do raise an eyebrow over now, and I wonder whether there was similar happenings on set in this film. I haven't heard any stories. The Marvel cast have spoken very positively about their experience, to the best of my understanding, but there are definitely a couple of jokes that even are used again, recycled in Justice League. But all that aside, it's a great film. Go and check it out. If you haven't seen it before, watch it again. If you've seen it before, watch it again. In terms of returning cast members, Scarlet Witch, we're absolutely going to get. I'm 100% sure she's coming back. I don't think you do a Doctor Doom story without the Scarlet Witch. A version of her is coming back. I think we're getting Quicksilver again. We have Magneto in this film. We have Wanda in this film. You're telling me the third Maximoff, or the second Maximoff, the second child of Magneto isn't showing up? I would like Polaris as well, but I'll take the first two. That's fine. I think we're going to get an Ultron in there. In What If, we had Ultron Prime, who contained the Infinity Gauntlet. I think we're going to get an Ultron at some point, either in Doomsday or Secret Wars. So I think our three villains of this film are showing up in Doomsday and Secret Wars. And then everyone else obviously coming back as well. I've talked about them before. I love it. It's really good. It's so much better than people give it credit for. Go and check it out. Next up is the final movie of Phase 2 and the third era. It's Ant-Man.